Stephen McNeill is the current and 28th Premier of Nova Scotia, an office he's held since 2013. Premier McNeill has served in the Nova Scotia House of Assembly since 2003, representing the riding of Annapolis. He became leader of the Liberal Party in 2007, and since becoming Premier, has demonstrated keen appreciation for and support of the province's institutions of higher education. The province's financial commitment has helped make our Xaverian Commons project a reality, and St. FX is grateful for Premier McNeill's work on the behalf of our students, faculty, and staff. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Premier Stephen McNeill.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Prime Minister Mulroney, Mila, Frank. It's great to see you, Minister Mulroney. I wouldn't want to run against you either. I might run for you, but I wouldn't run against you. And whoever organized this should never put me behind you when we're speaking. I want to recognize, I think with us, Sean Fraser is here, as well as I recognize when I came in, I saw Peter McKay, a good friend of mine, who is here. I want to thank both of them who were along this journey with the Mulroneys to ensure that we are standing in this magnificent building. I want to recognize Minister Labi Kasullis, who's with us. Mr. Kasullis is the Minister of Labour and Advanced Education. Thank you for the tremendous work you do with all of our sister organizations in the province. I am extremely proud of our universities, not only the one we're standing in, but all of them. They are great economic drivers, a great immigration tool, and have continued to make the fabric of this province better from one end to the other. So thank you for your work. We are also in Antigonish, where Minister Delory is home, our Minister of Health. I called Randy and asked him to be Minister of Health, and he said, I thought we were friends. Randy, I'm proud of you. You've done a tremendous amount of job, and I'm proud of you, our St. FX and of Antigonish, but I am really proud to be your friend and walk along the side of you as you transform healthcare. In 1983, I was graduating from high school. This young kid from Central Canada came to Central Nova, decided to seek higher office to lead the Conservative Party. And I must tell you, now that both of my parents are looking down from heaven, I was inspired by Mr. Mulroney and his charm and his wit, his smile, but his optimism, not only for his party, but for this country. I had an opportunity shortly after becoming the Premier of our province to sit alongside Mr. Mulroney on a trip to South Africa. And it was a gift given to me, quite frankly. I was in the same with Prime Minister Mulroney, Prime Minister Chrétien, and a few others. Donnie Oliver's here. And I consider it one of the blessings of my journey of being the Premier of our province. Mr. Mulroney, he answered the number one question I had all through the 80s and 90s. How did he get Mila? Well, within 30 minutes, he charmed me. And when I got home, I said to my wife, I met Prime Minister Mulroney, and I think he might have charmed me. And she said, oh, I can't believe anybody charmed you. And the next thing I know, I get a CD of songs that he had put together so that his grandchildren would know his voice and the Irish songs that he sang. And at Christmas time, I came in from outdoors, and my wife is playing them. I said, see what I mean? But I was with me. We know Mr. Mulroney's legacy in many ways, some of the media and the accomplishments of government, the GST, free trade. It's kind of ironic 25 years later, we're all fighting to be in free trade when we had an election about free trade. But that's leadership. That's leadership. That's about ensuring that you did what you believed was right for our country and brought all of us along with you. But I was with Ms. Mulroney on our way to South Africa to the Mandela funeral, and it was there where I saw a glimpse that not many people get to see, and I felt blessed. It was when many Canadians were reaching out to Mr. Mulroney and thanking him for what he did around apartheid and how he stood with Nelson Mandela when his two greatest allies were not with him, when the President of the United States and the President of the UK, Britain, were not there. It was our Prime Minister, it was Prime Minister Mulroney that made it loud and clear, you'll be on the wrong side of history. He demonstrated Canadian values He demonstrated, I believe, the values that his parents would have instilled in him. And I'm going to tell you, I couldn't have been more proud to be a Canadian and to have called him my Prime Minister than I was on that special moment when we were in South Africa. As Minister Mulroney has said, this is not his hometown. He was born in Quebec. How blessed are we that the Prime Minister has chosen Nova Scotia and St. FX and Antigonish to be home to this magnificent building and learning institution, a place where I know holds a great special place in his heart. Coming here at 16. Wow. My mother couldn't get me up at 16. Coming here at 16 and continuing, and then the path that Central Nova had, leading him into his first elected office and then on to becoming our Prime Minister. But I want to say to all of you, Mr. Mulroney has given us a gift as a province and as a country. This is a gift for the students of St. FX, yes. It is a place of higher learning. It is a place where the young people that will come here will have a great environment to learn in. But this is not a testament to the Mulroney years. I believe the Mulroney years will be etched in the Canadian history already. And history, as it illuminates the Mulroney years, will shine upon those years the gift and gratitude that we have as Canadians, and will identify Mr. Mulroney as one of the great Canadian Prime Ministers. But let me tell you, he has now given us an opportunity to build on that legacy, on that decade. Mr. Mulroney has built this building, but I prefer to think, and I think Caroline mentioned it, and this is a foundation. In many ways, this is a foundation for all of us to build on. St. FX, the entire province of Nova Scotia, and indeed the entire world. Mr. Mulroney's legacy is one not of being an isolationist, not one of a protectionist, one who believes that Canada can go out into the world and hold its own, and by the way, achieve great success. This will be a foundation for us to build on here at the Mulroney Institute, one where we welcome not only young, bright minds from around the world to come here to be educated, but one where we welcome scholars and academia and the business community to come here to debate the issues of today in the spirit of the Brian Mulroney approach. How do we collaborate? Where are our allies? How do we ensure in the Canadian confident way that yes, we can compete? We can be out there and we can change the public discourse to a way that reflects who we are and the values that we have as a Canadian society, in the way Brian Mulroney did in his opportunity when he was the Prime Minister of Canada. As the Premier of this province, I am grateful that Mr. Mulroney has chosen St. FX and Nova Scotia to host this magnificent building. I'm also up for the challenge of building on this foundation, and it will require all of you, those of you that have donated, to continue to support. Those of you that are teaching in this facility, to continue to make sure you open up young minds to a global view. And for those of us who are in the broader business community, to ensure that we make sure that Nova Scotia kids and Canadian institutions recognize we can compete on a global footprint. And it is Mr. Mulroney's legacy and this foundation that will allow Nova Scotia to be that beacon inside of the Federation of Canada. Thank you, sir. I asked Mr. Mulroney one time what it was like when he was Prime Minister, his relationship with premiers. He said, I hated getting calls from those guys in Atlantic Canada. Actually, he said to me, when I get a call from Atlantic Canada and I get a call from a premier in the country, I take it. And he talked about his relationship to late Joe Giz and the man I'm about to introduce, Frank McKenna. Those of us in this region know Mr. McKenna not only by what he currently does, but by the legacy that he left in New Brunswick and how he transformed the economy of New Brunswick, but equally and more importantly, transformed the spirit of New Brunswickers when it came to looking beyond the boundary, the electoral boundaries of New Brunswick, and looking out inside of the Federation into Canada. Mr. McKenna has continued to be a strong voice, not just for New Brunswick, but for Atlantic Canada. He doesn't mind calling you when he thinks you're wrong, and he doesn't mind calling you when he thinks you're right. And I appreciate both calls, sir. But Mr. McKenna is a proud Saint of Exeter. He's proud of the relationship that he has with this university, and I'm proud to call him a friend, and I want to welcome him to the podium.